Should I start?
Yeah.
You want me to start? Bloopers le isko. The camera did like a little
This is the starting of our video.
this. Hi guys and welcome to our first vlog as a couple. We have tons to talk about in this video because we've been keeping secrets.
Yeah. In the form of these videos, we want to express our life stories so far. In Canada, in US for me, in India and all around the world that we've experienced so far. And we hope that you will enjoy the content that we have to show you. So, if you don't already know, that's how it is. If you don't already know what this video is about,
What?
it's
Oh,
about him.
you did. Oh, sorry, I didn't see it.
I was trying to figure out what should be the right title for this video, and I came up with 3 titles. 3 of them did not make it to the YouTube video because of her. Because you rejected Yada.
I feel like this is going to be a roast run.
First title is, if you're an international student and you're wondering if you can have a baby and if you can be pregnant while studying, this video is for you.
The second title is, if you're a young couple living by yourselves and you're wondering if you can do this without family support, then this video is for you.
The last one, if you're married and it's not even been your first year of anniversary yet, and if you're wondering if you can be pregnant and have a baby,
Yeah.
this video is for you. Today we're gonna share our birth story.
Not our birth story.
Baby's birth story. Crop that out. Today we are here to talk about our baby's birth story.
Like we said, the titles that we came up with, hopefully you fit into one of those categories, and this helps you in some way or another.
So we have decided to divide this birth story into 3 phases of of this journey, right? The first phase or segment being what happened 24 hours before we went to the hospital.
Yeah. The second is going to be what happened in those 72 hours that we were at the hospital, and how he came into this world.
72 hours. That's how long we were at the hospital,
That's a
or
long
I think
time.
even more. And the third phase will be what did we do after we came back home with our newborn and how life changed completely for us. So, first phase.
The baby was due on March 11th, and we know that it's very rarely babies are born exactly on their due date, but for a first time pregnancy, babies are usually later than the due date. And it all started on Saturday. I had spent at least the last 2 weeks trying to rush Sankalp into packing the hospital bag, but luckily just the weekend before of March 3rd, we packed everything, and we started preparing for baby's arrival. So the day before he was born, we thought it was just a regular normal Saturday for us. Little did we know that's going to be the last Saturday of our lives, that it's just going to be just the 2 of us. We went out for groceries. We wanted to prep, stock up on some food so that when baby's here and if we're back from hospital, we'll have something. And we also went to the studio, I think, to record an episode for season 2 of our podcast.
Because we had like 1 week left before he could come into this world, and that's what we were prepared for. We were prepared for the dates after March 11th because everyone kept saying he's not gonna come on the day of the due date.
And actually, I had an appointment on the Thursday of the same week, and the doctor said, oh, there's like a lot of time, be prepared that the baby's gonna come after like the due date. We're back from groceries, resting, having our usual dinner, going to bed, and it's become an occurrence by then that I keep waking up to pee in the middle of the night, as it happens in the 3rd trimester. And so when I did wake up, I realized that there was like a strange sensation, and me having a contraction for the first time, I didn't know that's how it would feel. And so that started about midnight, a little later, I think around 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. And it kept happening until 6 in the morning. So the night of Saturday, when the contractions began, we knew that something strange was happening, something that hadn't happened before. And so we were, getting up every hour while I could sense the contraction coming.
I guess around like midnight, like 3 or 4 a.m., we started to realize, okay,
this is it.
Things are actually happening, and this is what the doctor said. When it'll start to happen, you will know that it's happening. Yeah. And that's when I think we immediately downloaded the app. On that day itself, we were not prepared for it, so we downloaded the app midnight, and we started tracking the contractions, because we were told by the doctor, and also we were reading on the hospital's website, which said you have to follow a certain rule to see if you're ready for, coming to the hospital or not. And this was the 5-1-1 rule.
Which means when you're timing your contractions, it has to be every 5 minutes. It has to last for 1 minute
long.
And this has to happen for an entire hour.
Yeah, so we were just waiting for this consistency to happen, and eventually it did happen. We actually saw this consistency later in the morning of the Sunday morning, but until then, between like 3 a.m. or all through the night until 9 in the morning, we were continuously monitoring to see.
And that didn't happen until maybe 9:30.
Yeah, until 9:30 we didn't see that happening.
Of Sunday morning.
Yeah, so 9:30 to about 10:30 we actually saw that happening.
Yeah.
Every 5 minutes she was having those contractions, and also because if we go to the hospital, they usually tend to send you back home.
We were also concerned that it might be false labor.
Yeah.
And then the hospital would be like, oh, you're not ready, you're gonna have to come back later when the real contractions come in.
Yeah, once we were ready for going to the hospital, luckily we had a friend to help us drive to the hospital and not worry about the travel to the hospital. And once we were there, it was the first time, I think, for you to sit in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And to be taken to the hospital, up to the delivery area.
At this point, I could walk, but I was in a lot of pain because of the frequency of the contractions.
And then once she was at the hospital, we took the wheelchair and then we went straight up to the what is the area called? The triage room.
Yeah, we went to the triage area, and
then we were just figuring out things on the go, right? Like we were she was sitting in the wheelchair, and I was pushing her like a grocery cart and then going all the way up, trying to figure out which way to go and all of that, because it's not like you can have a university tour or something of the hospital right before you.
Actually, we did have it all. We looked it up on the website, so we
but we never physically went to the hospital. So, but it was comfortable to know what the hospital looks like, and virtually we were able to see where to go. And once we were there, it started with the documents, and we gave her health insurance
paperwork was done, and they asked me to go into the triage room where a nurse assessed how dilated I was, because that's the one thing you cannot do at home. You can time your contractions, but you cannot check how many centimeters you are dilated.
And I have to express how proud I am of her, because when we reached the triage room, the nurse, when she was checking for the dilation, she said, oh, okay, let me see how far along you are. And then there comes a moment where she takes her mask down and she looks at the both of us and she goes, you're 5 centimeters dilated already, and this is your firstborn, and you've done you come so far already. This is like insane what you've done. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching and grinning, and we're like, oh my god, wow. That's all due to because we were educated about the 5-1-1 rule, right? And that's why we waited between the 5 a.m. and 10 a.m. until the morning, and didn't rush to the hospital sooner. Yeah.
I was in a lot of pain. I also, one thing that helped me a lot was to take a bath, or a warm shower and a bath. That really helped me like calm my nerves and sort of relax during the contractions. I remember reading during my research, or whenever I was trying to prep for birth and delivery, I remember reading somewhere that I need to be sure to take rest in between the contractions, that I really need to rest and try to take naps in between maybe. And I told Sankalp about it. I was like, Sankalp, remind me if I forget, in that time, the only thing that is important is I need to rest. So they checked for my dilations, checked my vitals, everything was looking good.
The baby's heartbeat.
The baby's heartbeat was good.
I was running like a horse, right? Like Alu Arjun from Race Guram. It was insane, listening to his heartbeat, all healthy, and it sounds healthy to us.
And so they asked me what my birth plan was. I didn't really have a specific birth plan. My only plan going in was baby has to be healthy. I want to do whatever's best in that moment for baby. But I preferred a vaginal delivery without an epidural.
As insane as that sounds, this lady here did not want to have the epidural, which is the assistance that a pregnant lady gets during her delivery, right?
It's like an anesthesia, like waist down.
Hopefully smoothen her, delivery process and reduce the pain in any way possible. But this, lady here, she wanted to, experience the childbirth.
Yeah, call me crazy, but I feel like it's, once in a lifetime. It's something that very only mothers can relate to, right? Like this special feeling of giving birth to a human being.
So yeah, first, so we went up to the front desk as soon as we reached the hospital, and then we did our documentation. The second step was going to the waiting room, and then they called us into the triage room.
Oh yeah,
the triage room. And then from there, once they decided, okay, you're ready to go in.
Like halfway there.
Yeah, so that's when they decided to take you to the delivery room, birthing room. Yeah, that's when we also noticed that for some weird reason, even though our insurance or her insurance only covers for a semi-private room, for some weird reason the hospital decided to give us a private room. And the reason behind that being
because I've traveled in the past year, and so if you have traveled internationally to any country that has a higher risk of COVID, and so you get a private ward.
Yeah, as soon as we went into the room, starting at 11 a.m. in the morning until almost 8 p.m. in the night, she was, what were you doing?
The contractions were getting more and more intense, and this is when things got real. It was something that is absolutely
even though you might learn or read about it, you can't prepare for it mentally, what you went through.
Exactly. So that journey between 5 centimeters of dilation to like 9.5, 10, that was really, really tough. I'm gonna be honest, and painful, but thanks to Sankalp, I got through it. He stayed with me every single second of those contractions. And we tried 100 different things. We tried different positions. We tried the birthing ball. There's this the certain position where they make you sit on it and lean forward. The nurses recommended.
She tried walking around to see if that helps her.
The nurses recommended walking.
The other shocking thing that we learned during this time was that she was not allowed to eat, and that's because you would spit out or throw out everything that you would eat.
This is actually not really a reason to not eat. Like, I personally preferred eating, and I did sort of like sneak in a banana or something.
Yeah, I was trying to feed her in between, and the nurse looks at me and is like, no, she's not allowed to
because
eat.
She's gonna throw up ultimately. And funnily enough, I did not throw up. Mostly survived on water. I guess. A lot of water. And
we mostly survived on the hope that we will be seeing our baby in few hours.
That adrenaline also kept us.
And the dad that I was all prepared and dressed up for this event. That I was in my white shirt, the whitest shirt that I can wear, and I probably was thinking that we'll go to the hospital, we'll have the baby, and then we'll come back, and we'll have the photo shoot during the pregnancy and all of that. And little did I know that we'll be staying there for 10 hours at least until the baby comes out, and few days at the hospital because of so and so reason, right? So yeah, quite a journey for the dad. But all through those 10 hours that we were talking about for her labor, obviously the nurses have their shifts, right? And every nurse that came during that time, they recommended so and so position and tips and advices that they could give to the mother.
Get through the contractions.
Yeah.
And most of it was just sort of being calm and relaxing and trying to not give in to your nerves. They also gave me penicillin. I knew that I was gonna get it beforehand because my swab for GBS was positive, and so they gave me 2 doses of penicillin. My water did not break naturally. The doctors had to do it, but they waited until both the doses of penicillin were complete. They couldn't do it in between.
Yeah, that was another funny thing that we experienced during this. Was so the nurses came in, or the doctors, one of them came in, and then they said that you didn't have a natural water break yet, and to do forced water break, we have to wait for the 2 doses of the penicillin to kick in. And that is, so they gave you the first dose, and then they had to wait about 3 to 4 hours to give you the second dose, and then wait about half an hour or 1 hour after that for it to settle down. And during this time, so they gave us this information after this first dose, right? They came to us and they said, okay, we have to wait for the second dose to to do the water break. So they come few hours later and they give us the second dose, and the nurses joke with each other while they're explaining us what happened. They explain us that, oh, okay, guess what we learned today? That you don't have to wait for the second dose to to do the water break.
We could have done it after your first dose, and this could have saved me like another 4 hours of labor.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but that's it. That's just what happened.
Yeah, I guess that's part of a
Healthcare system.
public
Yeah.
healthcare system, right?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone in the room, and then during this time, there's something else that we learned, right? That our baby boy is not in the perfect of angles for him to come out into the world yet, right?
he
Which
was
means
he was head down, but his face wasn't turning the right way apparently.
Yep, and luckily, one of the nurses that was there before all the doctors came in for the for the climax or finale, one of the nurses before observed that this little guy was turning on his own.
Yeah.
So for some weird reason, he knew what was required of him at that point of time, and then
The last 1 hour was extremely unimaginable because
Yeah.
so many things were happening at once. All the doctors came in, the pediatric nurses came in, and his bassinet was, being prepared. The weighing station for him was being prepared. And at the same time, the doctor says that, hey, you know what? We checked and the baby's head is not in the right, his face isn't in the right direction. And so we're going to have to manually turn him. But that's going to be extremely painful for you. So we highly recommend that you get an epidural right now.
after several hours of doing it naturally, they come and tell her when she's in such a lot of pain and exhaustion that you have to take the epidural now. There was no point of you suffering through all those hours. And what did she do?
I decided not to.
Obviously.
And just give it a few minutes. And I said I need at least 5 minutes. Let me to even make a decision, because I wasn't in I wasn't 100% there. And miraculously, this little guy hears us from the inside, decides to turn all by himself.
We're not even exaggerating. This is what the nurse exactly said to us as well, right? This little guy was turning on his own, and the mother can continue pushing, and we can do this without the epidural. And several moments later, he's out into this world.
And it truly was a labor of love, like they call it, because the second he came out and we heard him cry, he saw him first. Sankalp saw the baby
Yeah,
first.
finally, the first thing that we saw about our baby was his head, obviously,
Is this
and
TMI?
and the amount of hair that he has on his head. Obviously, that comes from his mom, and also me, the curly hair guy. But it was funny to hear the doctors say, "Oh, okay, this little guy is very hairy, and he's ready to come into this world." And
It was surreal. It was a moment that cannot be put into words. But if you're a mom, or if you know someone who's gone through this, or you've experienced it closely, then you know that you know what I'm saying. When he came out, the first thing they did was put him on my chest, and the second thing was they asked Sankalp to cut the cord, the umbilical cord. We did request this kind of. I mean, we made sure that a doctor includes.
Actually, it was good. It was the good thing about the doctors that they consciously, they remembered that, they should give or hand it over to me, the dad. And then that's when I cut the cord. And I saw that.
And then
beautiful
that
moment.
forgot me forever.
No, I actually did not see him come out completely. I just saw his head come out, and then I turned my focus to Mauni, to make sure, she's doing okay. And then, he came out into this world, and he did not cry. And
Sankalp cried more than he cried.
he cried on the cue of the doctors asking him, "Why are you not crying?" As soon as the doctors asked that question, and he started crying. And that was like such an incredible moment to see such an obedient baby that we have, touch wood, already, in our hands. Yeah.
Just for now, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know what's gonna happen.
Hopefully it stays the same, right? We spent the remaining night. Obviously, the baby and the mom have to be monitored for some amount of
24
time.
hours at least.
Yeah, before they are released out into the world again. And we had this. We spent the night together, and then little did we know that we had to feed him every 3 hours, and we can't just sleep through those 3 hours, right? We have to make sure that we feed him. And the first couple of times, I think the nurse was coming into the room and reminding us, waking us up to make sure that we fed him. And some point of time during that during the night, we slept through. We were so exhausted, and the nurse had to come. No, you have to get up and feed him. And that was the first night with the for the three of us.
Yeah.
The next morning,
I actually want to also mention that we hadn't eaten since Saturday night dinner, and this guy was born Sunday night. So it's been 24 hours, a little over. And our friends Nirali and Harshil, shout out to you guys if you're watching. Yeah, so Nirali sent the most delicious food that I've ever had in my life. I'm not even gonna lie.
and yep, I guess it was a smooth first night for us. But the next morning, when we were all ready and prepared and packed our bags to take this guy back home,
Just waiting on a couple of blood tests. They were like, oh, nothing, just routine tests. And
Yeah.
once it's done, you guys are ready to, free to go home.
this was probably around like 7-8 in the morning, and then we were waiting for a few more hours, and then we were wondering what's happening, why did they not come yet? And those tensions of being a new mom and dad start to kick in. The doctor comes in and tells us, what does the doctor say?
They were like, we need to talk to you about something. This is, I need you to stay calm and not worry. But there is something wrong in the tests. And so you guys are going to have to sit down for this.
Yep, we were just there in the the delivery room, waiting to hear the next words after she said we have to tell you something. And then she told us, even though we're making a big deal out of it right now, but it was a huge moment of shock for us because we're not prepared for listening to such a news of him having jaundice, which we learned later on is quite a common thing for Asian/Indian newborns, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as she revealed to us that he had jaundice, she told us that he had to go undergo a treatment, and we didn't have a choice. That's how she explained it to us, that you can't say no, and he has to go through this treatment. I don't know why they were even telling us that. Then what were they expecting us to say? They were expecting us to say yes, let's do it. And the good thing about those few moments of her revealing us to such a big thing was she gave her personal story and experience of her own kids, and how they had to go under a certain kind of therapy and treatment for her own kids, and that comforted us in a way.
She also mentioned that she knows that there's a list of countries that are at high risk for jaundice, and India is not on them. But over her experience of the past 30 years working as a pediatric nurse, yeah, we gotta go.
We were told that he has to go under a phototherapy, and that lasted for about 2 days at the hospital. We had to overstay there.
So thankfully, after another 24 hours, they had to keep monitoring his levels like every 6 to 8 hours and check his vitals every 3 hours. Everything went well. The treatment was successful, and his levels came down. His bilirubin levels came down. So thankfully and finally we could go home. Our bags that were packed for like 2 days were just sitting there. And
what an incredible experience of taking another human being along with us, kidnapping him from the hospital to take him home, and putting him into the car seat, and all of those new experiences that we never had in our lives. Obviously pregnancy is something we experienced for the first time. So before we can take him home, obviously the hospital gave us a checklist or a to-do list for the baby, right? That really helped us understand what all documents that he requires for
identification purposes, and for his health insurance and
yeah.
stuff like
So for what were the 5 things that he had to go through?
off of the top of my head: passport, social insurance number, OHIP, which is the health plan for this province.
His birth certificate.
Oh yeah,
And the childcare benefits that
Yeah.
we can apply here in Canada, right? We'll probably make a separate video of how we did those checklist of all those documents
that was
and
more stressful
applications
than
and
giving
process.
birth, if you ask me.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
let us know in the comments if you guys want to see a video on that.
but we finally took him home, and that is the last phase of this journey that we wanted to talk about on this video, was the 24 hours after him being born, and the life with our newborn at first night at our home without any support of nurse or doctor for
Yeah.
immediate help if at all we were worried about him, right? So
It was strange coming back to an empty house, but at the same time, it was a huge relief, you
Yeah.
know, leaving the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always comfortable that, being at home is, feeling safe, right? Taking care of our baby, and it
In
felt
our
like a
own
different
space.
world, coming out of the hospital, driving back home, and sitting in the car and looking at all these places. It felt like every single corner of the world is dangerous for our newborn. So, we have to be, 100 times more careful about how we,
Yeah.
go about in this world, right? It's
I
not
think-
just about you and me
yeah.
anymore. It's about, the three of us.
Yeah, I think a little part of us, a huge part of us changed forever. The way we saw things changed forever. The way we look at life and basically our worlds have just changed forever. So Sankalp is going to take over for the third segment. I have very little memory of those 24 hours.
No, it was just, we were just learning on the go, right? It's something you learn online about how to, be with the baby and how to do things correctly. And most of our education was funnily from Instagram reels that we were watching for the 9 months of our pregnancy.
YouTube videos that I watched, and thankfully the nurses did give us the basic education. Like I had help with lactation, and Sankalp was taught the diaper, swaddle, bathing routine for a newborn. So,
and also something that we learned on the go was that we had to burp him after feeding, which was something we did not know. And at the hospital, when the nurse came to us and asked if we fed him and also if we burped him. And then we lied to the nurse that we burped him because we did not realize that we had to do that.
Both sets of our parents are going to be watching this, right?
Yeah, that's okay. She forgot that we had to burp the baby, but
I was barely conscious.
Anyway, the point being that it was everything that we were doing was on the go, right? It was a learning experience for us.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
he
so
agrees.
the only form of expression for him was through his cry, right? So he couldn't really tell us, if he was uncomfortable, if he needed a diaper change, if he was hungry, or, if he had just a lot of gas in him. And yeah, it was difficult for us, but it was a fun experience. A lot of sleepless nights. We still continue to have a lot of sleepless nights, but it's been a beautiful journey so far. It was important for us, to time his feeding times and also his poop and pees.
So we had to download
an
app
that would help us understand if he's on path of recovery or not after after his initial tests. And that was the most important part, to set up alarms every 3 hours. Well, actually we didn't have to do the hard work because he would make sure to wake us up every 3 hours on the dot. And that helped us feed him on time and take good care.
So Sankalp and I decided not to announce the pregnancy at any point during the 9 months.
And that was for very valid reasons, because pregnancy in itself, the 9 months journey, is a very delicate, journey for both of us, and especially for the mom and for the baby, right? So until we were sure that he came out into this world, all safe and healthy.
Because of that, we basically did a lot of things in secret, amongst which one was having a baby shower. And a billion things happened in the baby shower. We did a gender reveal.
We had so many things planned for the baby shower. A special day for us, not just because it was the baby shower, but it was our 1-year anniversary.
Basically, a billion things happened on the same day. And we're going to be talking about that and sharing a little bit more on our next video. So apart from being new parents, mom and dad, as insane as that sounds, but that's what we are now. We are also now YouTube vloggers.
Yeah, I just married her because I wanted to overtake her YouTube channel, basically.
I agree. That is very true.
We've accomplished today. So
if you enjoyed our video so far, be sure to like, comment,
share and subscribe to our channel. Like I always say to the rest of the world, that this is just the beginning of our story. I hope you guys look forward to more videos coming up.